All right, hey, and welcome everybody. It's Sherman Ray, and this is This Week in Prophecy. I'm your host, Sherman Ray, and as always, we're bringing our co-host, Aaron Newton, today, talking about all things prophetic and how God is moving in the culture. But before we get going, folks, I want to let everybody know, if you're watching us on YouTube, to go ahead and hit that subscribe button and let us know that you really like us and that you're really you're enjoying the broadcast. And if you're watching us on godstream.org, we definitely want you to make sure that you tell everybody that you're on Godstream. There's a lot of people who've been leaving comments already on our YouTube channel. Love to hear your comments on YouTube, folks. Really do. But if you're, one of those people, you don't want to leave your comments on YouTube or something like that, definitely you can leave it with us at This Week in Prophecy. That's thisweekinprophecy@gmail.com. So I want to welcome on Aaron Newton. Aaron, how you doing today, brother?
Hey, it's been quite a day.
It's been quite a day already. Yeah. We're going to have to get into this. This is, you really surprised me this morning when we started talking about this. So before we get going, though, day's been going so far, other than what we're going to be talking about. Other than that, you're feeling pretty good?
Oh, yeah, he's not going to bother me. I'm going to keep moving.
Yeah, amen.
I'm not letting that get me down.
Wow, gosh. Now, did you want to get into that? Do you want to talk a little bit about what happened to you today? Because it really has something to do with a prophecy that you were actually talking about, like, was it our first show? I believe it was.
It was
our first show.
The end of the first show.
So let's go back in time. And tell us what the prophecy was, and then we'll kind of fill everybody in on what happened to you today.
Okay, so the word that I was given was that God is going, or that the enemy is tired of his secrets being revealed, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, the Lord dropped this word is that his prophets, to me, I heard, the big ones, the names, the big names that we see all over YouTube and stuff. But basically what he was saying was that the government, or they're going to get persecuted, or that's what I said, was persecuted. And I remember we were talking about it, and it was just, I had this fear that came over me, and I was sitting in my car on my way to work, and I just, all this scared feeling, and I never felt like that, but it would hit me so hard. And so then I the word was that basically they're going to persecute him. And as we were talking a little bit, and then about a minute or two, and it was just like he was saying, it's going to be financial, like taxes or money or somehow. And I never really, it's when people say prophet, I feel it's almost like not taboo to me to call myself that. It almost feels like cringe, I feel kind of cringy. But I mean, I guess you got to just, admit what you are. You know who you are. Jesus, what he has called you to do is to speak the things he said. And so I just do that. And, but, whenever I hear that inside, I feel like, oh, man, I don't know. But I you just have to accept it.
Yeah.
So today, it was about 8 o'clock in the morning, and I was on a break, and I'm like, well, I'm going to just pay my bills. I pay my bills online, and
just like a lot of people do. A lot of people pay their bills online, which is great. Yeah, sure.
Sure. So it's the first, and I pay all my bills on the first, and then I look at my bank account, and there's thousands of dollars missing. Oh my goodness!
So stop for just a second here. So Aaron, I know everybody's kind of going, what? Wait a minute. There's something. So you just go on it's a normal day. It's end of the week, almost end of the week. You're getting ready to pay your bills, and then you go online and digitally something's wrong.
Yeah. Like I said, there was like thousands of dollars. There was like $170 in my account.
Oh.
So basically what happened was somebody hacked in and transferred all the money in my account out.
Wow.
And I saw it, and it said transfer to other, and I'm like, wait a minute, did I put it in another account? I'm looking through my stuff like, no, no, no.
No. So
What is
maybe
going on?
you're thinking to yourself, well, maybe in your sleep you woke up and you digitally transferred a bunch of money into maybe your slush fund. You know,
I catch the dog going like this with his paw in my phone all the time. Oh, he did it. It was him.
It was the dog.
Henry.
Oh,
So I'm freaking out. I'm like,
yes. Oh my God.
what happened? I call the bank and they're like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, you transferred the money and it's gone. Like, where's my money? What's going on?
Gosh.
And so, yeah, it's somebody had transferred it and it's gone. Like, gone.
Yeah. So let's go back a little bit, because one of the things you had said earlier was that the prophecy is that in the Old Testament, I forgot what king it was now, to tell you the truth. It's off the top of my head. But Elijah was the prophet. And they were saying, the king was saying, who was in my camp? The king was saying, somebody is telling the nation of Israel about my plans, because every time I do something, they find out about it. And his people reported to him and goes, no, it wasn't that at all. It's the prophet who knows what's going on, because God has told him. And that's why Israel is being able to thwart you at every turn. So the prophecy was that you felt that the Lord was saying that as a result of in the supernatural, the devices of the devil are being found out, and it's generally the prophets are out there telling everybody, right? Because we see them all the time. Now, you don't see it on TV. That's the thing about it. You just don't see it on TV a lot. But we do hear about it if you watch God's Stream, or you keep up with some of the Christian broadcasting stuff. You hear the prophets talking about this thing going on, that thing going on, and so they're stirring up the spirits, and you're feeling that there is going to be retribution, and that this might be it.
Never think of it happening to myself. All I heard was that his prophets, and in my mind, like when you see a vision, right? You see a vision and you see what you see. Now, let's talk about that guy the other day that prophesied about Trump getting shot, and he said his eardrum exploded. He saw that man going like this, right? That's what he saw. He saw, and in his mind, he thought, oh, his eardrum exploded. But it didn't. Sure. He just got shot through the top of the ear. But that's what he saw when he saw the vision, right? We see things or we hear things, and we're like, oh, I'm thinking about Man of Grace and Tim Sheets and these people getting attacked.
And he
said specifically financially.
Yes.
But was he talking about me? Man, I never put myself in that category.
Never put yourself in that and I think that's the crazy thing about it, is I don't think any of us think that we're not on Satan's radar.
Yeah.
We think that, hey, no, they're talking about, like you said, the big guys, the big names that everybody knows. But devil doesn't care about that. He knows that you're going to be talking to people. But remarkably, it was, and you mentioned this when we were talking about this before, coincidentally, right? Coincidence. It just happened right on the first day we started this broadcast.
And it was one of those things that really affected me inside, I can't explain it. It just, like, the whole day I was kind of chewing on it, and like, this is really weird. And I come home and I'm talking to my wife about it, and I'm telling her what's going on. But it was really something heavy on me, it weighed really heavily on me. But today when I saw that, I didn't even think about that. That's not what I was thinking about. I'm like, what if I could reach through this phone and just, what is going on, And so it wasn't until later when I called you, and I'm like, we talked, and then I called you back, and I'm like, do you remember what I said on the first show?
Yeah.
and it was like,
and it's prophetic, man. Isn't it? Isn't it prophetic? Oh my gosh! If you're just watching this show right now, some folks might have just joined us right now. This is This Week in Prophecy. I'm your host, Sherman Ray, and in studio today, and well, not in studio, remotely, is Aaron Newton, and we're talking about what is pretty obvious, that a satanic attack that happened to him just today fulfilling prophecy pretty quickly. This was not like, yeah, this happened 400 years ago or something like that, and we're just finding out of it today. It literally happened like 4 days ago, something like that.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my gosh, that's just crazy. If you'd like to get a hold of us, you'd like to leave a comment. If you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and leave a comment in the comment section down below, and we'll get back with you. If not, send us a note at thisweekinprophecy@gmail.com. Aaron, I'm not excited about the fact that you're, been ripped off or anything like that, of course, but it does bring to the front the importance of listening to those prophetic utterances, because they could save your life, right?
Yeah, that's 100%.
Yeah, in this case, probably could have just saved you a couple of bucks. Well, not shouldn't say a couple of bucks, a couple $1,000.
Yeah,
But
jeez, man. Yeah, it was. It's just like that, right? People, they just been told their whole life that's crazy. Don't those people are crazy, or God doesn't talk to you, or that voice that you have three voices in your head. There's the enemy, which is he's always going to try to demean you somehow. There's yourself, which who you are, and then there's God. And so you had to distinguish between those voices, but the society would tell you you're crazy. I remember watching I was watching something on like a YouTube clip or something, and it was I think Mike Pence was talking to Joy Behar, and he's like, well, or no, he just said it at a podium. He said, well, I'm going to pray and let God talk to me about that. And she went off on The View, or whatever it is, The View, saying that he's crazy. Oh, God talks to him, he's crazy, and that's what society would be. But there's way more to it. It's so more in depth if you just listen and pay attention.
It's you mentioned Mike Pence and the girls on The View. That one of the things that's going on right now is J.D. Vance, who's the pick by President Trump to be his vice presidential running mate. He's being vilified, being called weird, because he believes in family values, because he believes in traditional family, and it seems it's not coincidental, of course, that with people, those same people, when they hear about the prophetic, when they hear about people hearing from God, that they go, you're kind of weird. That's just that just couldn't happen, right? And then you go, but look at my bank account. And listen, I'm not weird, guys. This really happens. Let me tell you a real quick story. I rarely get to tell any stories about this, but I was an electrician for about 15 years, and one of the things that the Lord spoke to me, to become a union electrician is not a small feat. It's a high bar. And either somebody, or your family knows somebody, or something like that, but you generally don't just get in because you're a qualified person. So, but the Lord told me, even at the time I was 35 years of age too. So they generally won't take you at that age at all either, because you're just, you don't have a lot of youthful years and all that other stuff. The Lord spoke to me and he said, you've got this job. Go ahead and buy your tools. And I went, okay. And this is before I took the tests, before I went in and spoke to anybody. I knew I had that job. I went out and bought all my tools to become an electrician. I spent hundreds of dollars on tools. Most of them I didn't use, but it was because I bought the wrong things, right? But the Lord spoke to me way ahead of time. And the funny thing about it is I knew all the way through, and there's phases that you go through to go through this process of becoming an electrician. I knew the entire time that I had already gotten the job. And so it was so when people say, no, the Lord doesn't speak to you, I think they probably should think twice on this.
Well, yeah, 100%. And it also depends on you as well, your faith, right? What your faith in what he says, because I'll give you an example. Me and Cecilia went to Missouri to my stepson's graduation. We graduated from boot camp,
Hmm.
And so we flew there and we had a couple days and we saw him. And on the way back, it was when it was really windy here and they were diverting flights. But for some reason, our flight was okay to land. And we were in the plane and it was shaking and it was really bad.
Hmm.
And I remember I'm just sitting on my phone and I'm getting kind of irritated because I can't watch my movie because it's shaking around so much. And I'm just like, ah. And I look over and Cecilia's like white knuckling the seats. And I
Yeah.
mean, I look around and everybody's like that. And I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, oh my goodness, this is scary, And I'm like, what are you talking about? You know how many things God has told me is going to happen that I'm going to be a part of? You think that I'm really going to die here today on this plane? And she goes, yeah, okay, okay.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, we may get injured or whatever, but nobody's gonna die
Nobody's
today.
dying. Nobody's dying. Isn't that
And
funny?
so, and it was just, that's my faith. Like I already know He showed me so many things that are gonna happen, and things
Hmm.
that are gonna happen to me.
Yeah.
That, yeah, not today,
Not today.
but
Yeah. Before
yes.
we get going too far, because we can talk about this all day long. Is
Sure.
there is so I had a few questions I wanted to ask you, but I really want to, because I want to leave a lot of time for you to talk about if the Lord has spoken to you anything during this week, because I know because we this is the second show we're filmed this week, which is awesome. Has the Lord been dropping anything in your spirit in the last couple of days that you'd like to share?
So I do. I have a couple
Hmm.
that are together.
Okay.
I think it was the last show. I'm not 100% sure, but I had spoke about the man with curly hair in the phone booth.
Okay.
And when I had walked by, I'll give you just a little quick
Sure.
recap. I was walking by a man and he was calling people on the phone. And next to him was a red gym bag. I remember it was red silk and it was just full of stacks of $10,000. And he was calling people on the phone and they're just like, you're on your own now, and hung up on him. And then when I got right next to the phone booth, he turned to me and he looks and he says, whatever they said I didn't do it. And then he goes back to making calls, totally ignoring me. So that was, it was an old city. And I remember Philadelphia or DC, like old New York, maybe cobblestone streets, but it was present day. But, anyways, so I got a couple more that I'm going to share with you. And I think, and these are connected because it's the same man in the dream.
Hmm.
And so let's see here. Here we go. So this was April of 2024. I had a dream that I was walking down a hallway of like a high school, and for some reason, women in the school knew that I had something that they wanted. They like something I possessed, kind of thing. And so they started kind of like smiling at me and flirting, and like I dropped some papers, and they were like would rush to help me to pick it up. And I was like, this is weird. Why are they being all nice to me? And then I walked into the janitor's closet, and there was a man, and he was sitting on a bench, like kind of like a weightlifting bench, and his back was facing towards me, and he said, I know what you're going through. The same thing happened to me. And when he turned around and it was the man from the first dream. I'll never forget his face. And I saw him and I kind of like, whoa, I know you. And then everything went pitch black, and I was standing in a pitch black room, dark. And then all of a sudden, out of the darkness, his face kind of like showed up. I could far, close enough where I could see it. And then right here, and he screamed, and I woke up, and I looked at the clock, and it was exactly 4:04. So the 4:04, the day before I woke up, and it was 4 o'clock, same exact time, 4:04. And I remember I look at the clock, and I'm thinking like, I have to remember this. For some reason, I just thought to myself, 4:04, okay. So then the next day I had this dream. Then the next day after that, me and my son were watching a movie, and I can't remember the name of it. It was a TV show, but anyways, in the show, this man was breeding dogs, and for like he worked at a corporation, and he was breeding these dogs, and the corporation owned the dogs. They're all German shepherds, and anyways, he was getting close to this one dog, and he's like, "I'm gonna leave here, and I'm gonna steal this dog," and the dog's name was 4:04.
The
And
dog's
so
okay.
the dog's name was 4:04.
That's pretty strange. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty strange. Then the very next day, I now I was in the airport, and I was standing in front of the airport, and I was watching this guy, and he was doing a podcast,
Yeah.
and he was making content about people's instruments, different kinds of instruments, guitars, and whatever. And this young kid was down a little ways. He was playing a guitar, and the man walked up to him, and he's like, "I really like your strap," and he's like, "Your guitar strap," and he goes, "Oh, you want to? Let me show you how to wear it." And he puts the guitar on the man, and then he's like making his, he's got his phone, and he's like, "Yeah, this is my podcast, and I'm going to show you this cool guitar." And so the kid went inside, and I followed him. And there was this room in the middle of the airport. And inside the room, when the door opened, there was these metal bars, and they went all the way around the wall. And they were in these little, like, almost kind of like one of those Western gun belts where the bullets were right next to each other. And these metal bars were in these things like that all the way around the wall. And I knew it was a room for kids to come and play, kind of get out of the casino area and the smoking and stuff. And when the kid walked in, he's like, "I want to play with this one." And the lady said, "No, you can, but you can't remove it from the wall till it's exactly 404. So, okay, so that's 4 days in a row that I'm seeing this 404. And I don't know what that means. I'm looking it up. And then when I looked it up, it said, that's the code, which means you're not connected to the internet. It always says code 404.
Yes, it's code 404. Sure.
So with that, I'm praying on it, like, what is this? And it's like 404. Yeah, when everything's down, when the internet's down, when you're not connected to anybody else, when everything is down, the power's down, whatever. Code 404, 404. But for 4 days in a row, I'm seeing this number, and I'm like, excuse me, that's weird, because he speaks different to me, very, different ways. Sometimes it'll be a song, and I hear something in the song, and I'm like, that was just exactly what I needed to hear. Or, through a movie, whatever it is, just something will stick out to me, and it'll be like, rewind it, watch that again, watch that again. Or so, I don't know. I do feel like, let me explain to you why. So that there was that man. Then on the 21st of April, I had a dream that I saw the black man again. And this time I was sitting watching a podcast happen. And there was two men sitting across from each other. I don't know who the host was, but Elon Musk was the guest. And I saw that black man again, but this time he was sitting off to the side in kind of like a lazy boy chair. And he wasn't speaking, he wasn't doing anything. He was pretty much ignoring me that I was there, but he was just like kind of, I don't know how to explain it, like one of those evil, kind of like, watching.
Sure.
And so Elon Musk was explaining these things, symbols, if you see this and this, it means this. And if you see a star with this, it means this. And he's explaining all these like evil symbols. And the man was just sitting there watching. And I knew in the dream that he was behind everything. He was the one behind all the chaos. Really what I said was he was watching, and he was the one behind creating all the chaos in the world.
Really?
Yeah. And so
the guy was, now it was a black guy, right? And he was sitting.
He was a Middle Eastern man.
Middle Eastern guy with curly locks.
And the first the show, when I talked about the first dream, I for a long time I thought it was just a black man, but through prayer, God was like, that's a Middle Eastern man. Hence the curly. He never shows me what the man looks like exactly. Yeah, it's always like if something happens where these words come to pass, in the dream, if there's a dream that it happens, it's a white guy, but then in real life, it's a Hispanic guy.
Yeah. And
he showed me that man, and he was really dark, but I thought it was a black man, but hence the loose curls he was a Middle Eastern man.
Interesting. Well, I can't wait to find out because we got 404, we've got the chaos that's going on, disconnection from the internet. I wonder if the internet has something to do with it also. If there is, if it's more prevalent in this than because it seems like you're already getting the 404, which when you first said
Yeah,
it, I went, "Oh yeah, that's definitely the
that's
sign I
the
get all the
code.
time because it's that code." Um, so I'm wondering if that's it. Huh.
Well, I do. I mean, what happens when the electricity goes down? Nothing. You get nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But here, where we live,
Yeah.
it was 115 degrees, right? So
Sure.
people are hurting.
Yeah.
The electricity went down in the older part of town not too long ago,
Mm-hmm.
and one of my friends is like, "Hey, the electricity's out," and I'm like, "Well, come over. You can come stay here. We'll be fine." And he, they were just miserable.
Oh yeah.
It was like Boulder Highway, the older part of, by what is that, Sam's Town, I think. It
Sure.
was over that area,
Yeah.
and
Oh, and for those of you who are watching this and you're not familiar with Las Vegas, that would be on
oh yeah,
on the east side of town. Yeah,
yeah, that's the older part of town there.
older side of Las Vegas. Yeah.
But yeah,
And
that's it's. I'll just give you one more that's kind of.
sure.
Oh, I think we talked about it. Actually, it was right before the debate where I was standing,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw this man, and he was putting it was like a car that was taken apart. The whole front end was apart, and the engine was just in pieces, and he was putting it back together. And I was standing right behind him, and under the car was a ditch, about maybe knee high, and it was full of oil. And he was just standing in the oil, putting that thing back together. Just he knew exactly what he had to do, but it was taking time. And I'm standing there watching him, and I knew in the dream that he was a terrorist. And then Joe Biden walks up and he sits down on the floor and he kind of looks down at the oil and he's like looking sad, like he wants me to feel sorry for him almost. And he looked over and he's like, we could have did much better. And then he looks back down, and that man is still, putting things together, totally ignoring us as we're there. And I knew that it was something bad,
Yeah.
but
Something bad, and that's the crazy thing about. And so Joe Biden's involved in it, or could it be that it was, or do you think of it's Joe Biden himself, or maybe somebody in the presidency? Uh,
yeah, see,
yeah,
I get when he tells me
symbolism.
exactly what it is or whatever,
Yeah,
but like I feel like these need to be said because there's pieces somewhere.
sure.
Somebody else has another piece and they'll
Yeah,
see it and
yeah,
they'll be like, let me leave this guy a message because I saw that from the other side. Or,
yeah.
but
Mm-hmm.
the, um, you know, just I think that there was more taken. I felt like he was more taken advantage of,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
like he's not really running things,
Yeah.
but he feels like he is. He
Mm-hmm.
feels like I could have done so much better than I really did, but he wasn't really running
But
anything.
he really wasn't running anything. And here's something funny is I was watching a video today as I was kind of going through a lot of videos, because that's what I do a lot during the day. And there was a story about Kamala Harris. And this isn't a political show, but it definitely is a show where we'll give you some insights and you can make up your own decision on what's going on. But it talked about the past of a lot of politicians we would not even think about that they were actually involved in this, that, or the other thing. And part of it actually had to do with Kamala Harris actually running the government. And this was videoed back in 2021. No, it was before the election. So it was before the election. So it was 2019, 2018, 2019. And the guy was basically saying that Joe Biden might be the president, but Kamala Harris was actually going to be the one running the government. And it wasn't even Kamala Harris who was running the government. It was this whole cabal of people who put her in a position to get to even become vice president. And so so it kind of I think it's kind of running track with what you're saying, that you're saying that Joe Biden's going, oh, he's kind of looking down going, I could have done so much better, but really he couldn't have, because he really wasn't running anything anyways. So
Yeah. So, I mean, that's pretty much what I'm seeing. The same thing is
yeah.
what you're saying. It is. I'm noticing a lot of the videos that they made back in that era, 1918, whatever, are now coming back to bite them.
Yeah.
And I saw one today like that, but it was her saying, how dare you celebrate Christmas when there's refugees or immigrants have no place to sleep tonight? How dare you say Merry Christmas to each other? And I was just like, wow, these are really things that are going to bite them in the backside.
Well, I don't know. We live in a different country right now. I wish we could say, yeah, things are going to be just fine, and we're going to be fine with that that people are going to object, but I don't know. Let me ask you one last question before, because we're going to run a little long on the show, which is fine.
Okay.
But there have been people who've been leaving me notes, and they've been saying that because they've got a prophetic gifting too, they believe. And one of the things that we've kind of touched on earlier on was whether or not there is a school or is there a methodology for people who are to develop their prophetic gift. And we know in your case it's been kind of an ongoing thing also. But kind of give us kind of insight on some methodology that might work for some other people, because I know a lot of people just don't. They're frustrated, right? They're frustrated because
Yes.
they've not, they know the Lord's speaking to them, but they're going, okay, what do I do with this thing?
Oh, I know that feeling.
Yeah,
Oh, yes.
yeah,
So, really, I mean, in the beginning, when you're not understanding, it's really means just to pray and get in the Word. Like that's all you can do, right? Because you're not going to have this magical epiphany on how to live this way, right? Because
hmm
we were talking about the other day the glory falling. We wouldn't know what to do because there'd be so many people that have been out of practice in this
hmm
Acts church way of life that they wouldn't know what to do either. So the pray and let's say like pray, read, get in the Word, really meditate, and um, try to find somebody else. Like I know it's hard, it's really hard,
Oh yeah.
but pray for that, to find a community of people. I searched around online and found stuff on the internet and people groups, but it just really wasn't working out until I could talk to somebody face to face.
hmm
And I found a community of people that are really similar. Of course, their gifts work in different ways. Some people are just right on the spot kind of word for people. Some people have in depth visions or dreams, but they're all parts of the puzzle. Like I said, an army has many moving pieces, and we can't all be pastors, and we're not all evangelists.
hmm
That's not, that's if we were all evangelists, then we would all just you know I mean, there is the
We'd be
Great
we
Commission, but it doesn't mean you can't talk to the man at the grocery store or your coworker. It
sure.
doesn't mean you're standing out on the street with a sign yelling at people, repent
I
or
was
die.
thinking, I think we're all evangelists, right? We're just
Yeah,
like we're going in just throwing bombs all over the place, man.
so you hear this as if you're not doing what I'm doing, you're not
Yes,
doing enough.
you're
And
not
that's
doing
not
enough.
true.
No.
That's not true. God is going to put you, He's going to work with you what you need. But, try to find a community or, anyways, get closer to Him as you can, because He will help you through it. It's got, He never meant for us to fix ourselves.
hmm
He meant to be the one to clean us out.
Yeah.
And so, but I don't, if we have enough time, I don't want to leave this with all these things that I left. I want to give you a dream of a really good, encouraging dream if we have enough time. So,
Yeah. Yeah. We've got plenty of time. Sure,
yeah,
go for
we
it.
good?
Yeah,
Okay.
go for it.
So I wanted this last dream I want to tell you it's really encouraging, right? So, I dreamt that I went back in time, and it was weird. Like I knew I wasn't, like I was wearing modern clothes, but I was in the 1700s, and I was in Philadelphia, and I was standing in front of where Constitution Hall, I think it's called, the red brick building where they wrote the Constitution in Philadelphia,
hmm
and I was standing in front of it, and there's no cars, nothing, just the street and kind of what it looked like. And I saw this man open the front door and he walked out. He's walking towards me. And if you've ever been there's like a park and then it kind of goes out to the street. And
Okay.
so I was standing on the street and he's walking towards me and I'm holding some documents, and they're rolled up, and there's like a bow on it, and then also inside is a ram's horn, the little small ram's horn, and it's also wrapped around the document. And I saw the man walking towards me, and I'm looking at him. He's dressed like somebody from the late 1700s. He's got the short pants with the white stockings and the vest and the waistcoat and the
Yeah.
black hat, the tri-line. And he's walking towards me, and I'm like, hey. And it was the weirdest thing. Like, we didn't say anything, but he was waiting for me and I was waiting for him, kind of thing.
Okay.
And so I handed him the document, and I knew right when he touched it, it was the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and the ram's horn. And then I gave it to him, and he's like, thank you. I've been waiting for this, And I said, when you're done, blow the horn. And he's like, all right, thank you. And he went back inside, and I knew it's going to go back to that. Like, our government
Wow.
is going to come back to this founding, foundation, this cornerstone of our foundation, the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and it's coming back to that. It's just going to take time, because once these people who are where they are doing what they're doing, full of just evil and bitterness and hatred for people, but really just worshiping mammon, right?
Yeah, sure.
Once that spirit leaves them, they're not going to just give up what they have.
No,
because
they're not giving up.
They're not going to give up anything. It's going to take time, but it was so, in the dream, I knew it was like he was waiting for me and I was waiting for him so that we could make this happen. They're going to lay that cornerstone, and we're going to build it up again.
That is so encouraging. I like that.
Yeah.
I heard another guy who's moves in the prophetic, and he echoes what you're just saying also. That there's going to be this shift in because America went one way, we were kind of really off to the left, and now it's coming back, and there's going to be a restoration, because people are just they're tired of it. They're tired of seeing the way their country's going, and I think there's something spiritually inside of every American that says, no, this is wrong. This is just wrong the way we're living. So very excited about. Well, Aaron, I really appreciate that. I appreciate your input and all the things you've been talking about here today. And I'm hoping that people, as they're listening to this, that it gets them more stirred up to actually get to be a part of something like this too. So if you've got any questions, you guys got any kind of insight that you'd like to, or any comments that you'd like to leave for Aaron or myself, leave it in the comment section down below, or you can write to us at thisweekinprophecy@gmail.com. It's thisweekinprophecy@gmail.com, and definitely we'll get back with you on that. So once again, Aaron, thank you once again for being a part of the broadcast, and hopefully everything works out with your bank account.
I had to move it from somewhere else. I'm good now. I'm good. I'm not going to get kicked out.
All right. We'll see you again next time, okay?
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye. And folks, once again, I want to thank Aaron for being a part of the broadcast here today. It's just been fun. Hopefully that we're going to continue to challenge people to just, get deeper into the Word, and also to get closer to the Lord, because that's really what it's all about. You just got to get closer to the Lord and get into your Word even more. So once again, if you are having any questions about prophecy, or you'd like to give us some of your insight, to write to us at thisweekinprophecy@gmail.com. It's thisweekinprophecy@gmail.com. And we will see you again next week, folks, for This Week in Prophecy. This has been Sherman Ray, and thank you once again for being a part of the broadcast. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.